It was 7 a.m. when Officer Lawrence Carter stepped out of his house, ready for another day of duty. By the time he reached his car, he was dead. A single gunshot to the chest. The neighborhood was in shock. Who could have killed such a respected officer? Please like and subscribe to the channel for more stories like this. Lawrence wasn't just any cop. He was well-loved, trusted, and seen as the heart of the community. He'd never made an enemy, or so it seemed. His death made no sense. The whole neighborhood was baffled. Who would kill a man like him? The police were on high alert, scouring every corner for answers, but every lead hit a dead end. The murderer seemed to have vanished without a trace. The case grew cold by the day. Then came a twist no one expected. Just days after the murder, Lawrence's wife, Christy, was kidnapped. The same day, her life hung in the balance. But Christy managed to escape. When she was found, she was visibly shaken, barely able to speak. She said little, but her eyes told a story. The investigation took a sharp turn. Was her kidnapping connected to her husband's death? As the police struggled to find a solid lead, a court officer, Paul Davis, came forward. He had worked closely with Lawrence, and he believed the investigation had missed something critical: the Harringtons. The Harrington family was known for their wealth and power. Their son, Rory Harrington, had just been sentenced to death for multiple violent crimes against women, including the brutal murder of a janitor's daughter. Despite his crimes, the Harringtons' influence had nearly kept the case under wraps. But there was more. Paul revealed that Lawrence had been working undercover to expose Rory Harrington. Lawrence had gathered evidence, hoping to bring justice to the victims. But someone didn't want the truth exposed. Paul's suspicions grew stronger as he learned that Lawrence's murder and Christy's kidnapping might be tied to the Harrington family. Rory's case had almost been buried, and Lawrence had gone to great lengths to get the evidence needed to take him down. Paul feared the Harringtons had something to do with Lawrence's death, knowing that if the truth came out, their power and influence would crumble. With every piece of evidence, the mystery behind Officer Lawrence's death became clearer. It wasn't just about Rory Harrington anymore. The more the investigators uncovered, the more they realized the true culprit wasn't just the violent son, but the powerful father, Victor Harrington. Paul had been right. Lawrence's murder was the result of a cover-up that reached farther than anyone expected. Rory Harrington's violent actions were simply the tip of the iceberg. The true danger lay in the empire the Harrington family had built, fueled by corruption, lies, and dark dealings with criminals. Victor Harrington had protected his son at all costs, but there was more. Victor's power wasn't just in his wealth. His real strength came from using fear and influence to control not just his son, but entire sectors of society. Lawrence had been investigating Rory, but as he dug deeper, he uncovered a massive network of illegal activity involving the Harrington family. The breakthrough came when an officer found an encrypted file hidden deep in Lawrence's personal records. Inside, they discovered a hidden connection between Victor and organized crime groups, links that no one had known about, not even Paul. Rory's violent history was the least of it. The real crimes were tied to human trafficking, money laundering, and a web of criminal enterprises built on blood money. As the truth emerged, the realization hit hard. Victor Harrington wasn't just protecting his son. He had been orchestrating a criminal empire, and Lawrence had been close to exposing it all. Lawrence's murder wasn't just a cover-up for Rory's actions. It was about silencing the only man who had the courage to take down the family business. Christy was haunted by the revelation that her husband's death was part of a much larger conspiracy. She'd always known Logan was a good man, but the secrets Lawrence had uncovered were bigger than she could have imagined. Her fear grew, as did the realization that she had been caught in a dangerous game of power, manipulation, and betrayal. Victor Harrington's reach extended far beyond the police force. Even Paul, who had been investigating this case, was at risk. Christy was left to wonder. Was she just a pawn in the game? Could she protect herself and still help bring the truth to light? It became clear that Victor Harrington's power had no limits. He was determined to silence anyone who threatened his empire, including his own son. When Rory's sentence was handed down, Victor's world shattered. But it wasn't the death sentence that broke him. It was the knowledge that his son's crimes had been exposed. He had always believed that his wealth and influence would be enough to protect Rory, to change him, but the law had caught up with him. Devastated by the loss of his son and unable to cope with the shame, Victor made a devastating decision. Consumed by grief and anger, he resorted to extreme measures to try and erase the damage done to his family's name. He began orchestrating a plan to destroy everything Lawrence had built and anyone who stood in his way. His final act was a brutal assault that took the life of one of his own close allies, someone who had once been loyal to him. As the investigation closed in on Victor Harrington, the police realized the full scope of his involvement in the murder. His actions had been driven by a fear of losing control, of losing his empire and his family's legacy. But in his attempts to protect his son and his wealth, he had killed an innocent officer and created a cycle of violence. Victor was arrested. He showed no remorse. His wealth, his power, his connections had all crumbled. The empire he'd built on lies and murder was falling apart, and Victor's downfall was inevitable. The case that had started with one man's tragic murder had now led to the fall of an entire family. Victor Harrington was sentenced to death, just as his son had been. In the end, the very things he had feared most, the exposure of his family's dark deeds, had become his undoing. As Victor sat in his cell, waiting for his final judgment, he was forced to confront the truth. No amount of money or power could save him now.